There is currently an epidemic in the world, and I truly believe that it's killing us all slowly. It's the reason why you can't seem to make any meaningful progress in life, and why your dreams feel like they're slipping further and further out of reach. No, it's not because you're lazy or undisciplined. In fact, some of the smartest, most hardworking people I know are stuck in it. It's a pattern that quietly keeps people stuck for years, and sometimes even across generations. It's called escapism. Escapism is what makes you reach for your phone the moment you feel bored or uncomfortable. It's what keeps you chasing cheap dopamine, scrolling, binging, numbing, trying to avoid the quiet discomfort of your current reality. It's truly why I believe some people are more obsessed with sports and athletes and actors versus what's going on in their actual lives. There are so many ways I could point to escapism in my life and how I've noticed it holding back my potential. But the truth is that escapism isn't even the real problem. It's actually just a symptom of a larger problem that most people aren't aware of. The real problem, the root cause, is a lack of what Napoleon Hill calls definiteness of purpose. A true mission that can keep you up at night and forces all of your decisions and actions in alignment with what you said you want to achieve. He says, a definite purpose backed by a burning desire for its fulfillment sets into motion the strongest forces known to man. Because without a clear mission, a true vision for your life, you will drift and you'll settle, and you'll always find yourself chasing comfort over growth. So my goal today in this video is simple: to help you escape escapism, to reclaim your focus and reconnect with that dream and that vision that you've always wanted to achieve. So I recently did something that I never thought I'd be able to do. But to understand why this even matters, I have to take you guys back a couple of years. So after I graduated college, I went through a phase that I think a lot of people go through, which is that I was desperately trying to find that thing that would bring me financial security and possibly even financial freedom in the future. I remember during this time frantically searching through YouTube, trying to find that perfect business model that would bring me financial freedom and let me, be driving the Lambo and the Ferrari as quickly as I possibly could. It was the same thing with careers. I was frantically trying to find the right career that would give me a good amount of financial security and also freedom in my life and autonomy. I researched it so much to the point that my entire YouTube feed, I kid you not, my entire YouTube feed was about some type of online business. So Shopify, affiliate marketing, Amazon FBA, SMMA. If you guys have been in that space, you know what all these different terms mean. To be honest, I tried most, if not all of them. They never ended up how I expected them to. By that, I mean that they all failed. One day, one fateful day, I remember stumbling across a video by a guy, I think his name Quadrell Jones. I can't find his name for some reason anymore, but he was talking about something that I'd never heard about before, which was Instagram theme pages. If you're on Instagram, it's likely that you've seen pages like this before. There are pages like Mindset Therapy, World Star, Daquan, basically pages that curate content from across the internet and post it and build an audience. Unlike all the other business models that I tried before, this one just felt a little different. It was because I didn't need any startup costs, I didn't have to show my face, and it had the potential to make what I thought was a decent amount of money. Even though I tried so many other things before and they had all failed, for some reason, something just told me to give this a shot. At the time, I just graduated, so I had a decent amount of student loans. I was preparing to apply to grad school, so I knew that I needed something that would provide me with extra income, especially since I'd be going into even more debt to get my graduate degree. So it's safe to say that I was pretty desperate and I needed this to work. So I remember binging all of his videos, and I think he even had like a course for like $200 or something that I went and bought. And at the time I didn't have that much money, so this was a lot of money for me. It was an investment. So I went and I bought the course and I watched all his content, and about a week later I started my first Instagram theme page. I vividly remember telling my brother and a couple of my friends about what I was doing, and them just being so confused because it honestly did not make sense. I'm not even sure if it made sense to me either. It was just such a crazy idea, crazy concept. To be honest, they probably thought I was wasting my time, but they were just too nice to say to my face. One day, I remember I was in my room running on my treadmill. This was during COVID, so we didn't have access to the gyms. So I was doing home workouts, and whenever I run on the treadmill, I just get very motivated. for some reason. I don't know why. I had my music going. I was just running, just very focused. I remember telling myself that this page is going to pay me $10,000 one day. I didn't have any evidence. I didn't have any reason to believe this. I really didn't even have a plan. But for some reason, I just believed it very, very deeply. That belief, it planted a seed. And I didn't know this at the time, but it became a definite purpose. So every day I showed up, I would post content, I would curate content, and do everything that I had to do, or what I thought I had to do in order to grow the page. And for months, I had no traction, no results, nothing was happening. And most importantly, I definitely was not making any money. The only thing that kept me going was this random blind conviction that deep down I knew that one day it would work. It happened. One day, I'll never forget, someone DM'd me and they asked me if I would promote their fitness account on the page. They paid me $20 and I was ecstatic. Like once it hit my PayPal account, I was so happy. Even though it was just $20, it was proof that what I was doing would eventually work, and that was enough to keep me going. So I kept going and I kept getting better. Like the content started getting better. I started to just grow like this sixth sense of what would work on the page. And then one day, randomly, one of my posts just went viral. At the end of it, that Instagram account ended up making me way more than I expected it to. It even helped me pay for my living expenses throughout grad school, which helped me avoid going into even more debt. To cap it all off, I actually recently, like within the past week, sold this Instagram account. And I don't want to blow this out of proportion and make it seem like it was some life-changing exit, but it definitely was more than I was expecting. Here's the reason I'm telling you all this. That entire journey from 0 to over 10K all started with a crystal clear intention. A definite purpose that gave all of my actions meaning and direction. Like Napoleon Hill says in his book, there is one quality one must possess to win, and that is definiteness of purpose. The knowledge of what one wants and a burning desire to possess it. So this wasn't about luck. It wasn't even about the algorithm. It was about faith, focus, and a mission that ultimately I refused to let go of. So the real question now is this. How do we take that same level of clarity and focus and apply it to every other area of our lives? And how do you define your purpose so clearly, so powerfully, that the world has no choice but to move in your favor? A person who knows what he wants and is determined to get it does not bargain with life. The first step to escaping escapism and creating a definite purpose in life is to first be brutally honest with yourself about the different ways you're escaping and essentially bargaining with your life. For some people, it's obvious. It's like maybe it's when you get home, you immediately sit on the couch and watch TV until you have to fall asleep. Or maybe when you're laying in bed, you're always doom scrolling on your phone rather than doing something productive. Or it might be even as subtle as always planning that next vacation because that's the only thing you have to look forward to. And for some people, escapism might show up in seemingly productive habits. And this is something that I know affected me for the longest period of time. So this might show itself in the way of always working out, like you're excessively working out, always in the gym, spending hours in the gym. Or it might be obsessing about productivity, trying to find the perfect productivity hack, or over-consuming self-help information, trying to find an escape through the content from your current reality. This one really hits home for me because I remember spending countless hours like consuming self-help information and like self-improvement information. But looking back, it really was just a crutch that made me feel like I was making progress, but I actually wasn't. So escapism isn't always unhealthy on the surface. It becomes dangerous when you start to use it as a way to avoid the pain of your current situation. Until you uncover and identify the ways that you're currently avoiding your real life, because deep down you know it's not the one you actually want, you'll never really be able to step onto that path of direction and purpose. So now that you've identified the different ways that you've been escaping, the next step is to ask yourself a question that most people never even slow down to consider, which is, what do I actually want out of my life? And this isn't the time to focus on what your parents want or even what society thinks is successful. This is the time to think about what you really want, even if it feels unrealistic at the moment. I remember listening one day to a sermon, and the preacher said something that was very impactful to me. He said, you have to remember that life and destiny is like a marketplace. Make a list of what you want and go and get it. The truth is that most people drift through life because they never take the time to define their actual destination. Definiteness closes the door on drifting. It puts a person in a position where he can get what he wants from life. So take your time and really sit with this question. Think and visualize how you'd feel if you were able to achieve it. If you could build a life that you're proud of and excited to wake up for every single day, what would that look like? This isn't the time to be pessimistic, to believe that everything's already been done, or it's too late, or it's too saturated. Because this is a trap that I think the majority of us fall into, including myself at times. Like, I remember when I was first starting the page, big hindrance that I had was that there were so many people already doing this. So what would make me stand out? But here's a helpful quote from the book that I think puts this into perspective. Non-drifters do not wait for opportunity to be placed in their way. They create opportunity to fit their desires and demands of life. And I'm also reminded of the time that I set the goal of hitting 1,000 subscribers by the end of 2024. And although it seemed like an impossible goal at the time, and it seemed like everything was very saturated and that I didn't really have a space in this, I, for some reason, just held on to that belief. I remember even posting it on my close friend story on Instagram that was my plan, to hit 1,000 subscribers. And I honestly should not have done this because it put a lot of pressure on me, but it also forced me to show up, and it forced me to put my best foot forward. Ultimately, what I found is that having that vision, almost like a lighthouse in the distance, kept me moving forward. It gave my daily actions direction. And even though it felt far away, I just stayed the course, and ultimately I got to my destination. And that's part of the power of purpose. It doesn't make the path easier, but it definitely makes it more clear. The next thing is that you have to learn to accept criticism and failure as part of the game. And here are two quotes from the book that I think really drive this point home. When a person is definite in their purpose, even a temporary defeat is seen as a stepping stone to a greater achievement. The world has produced thousands of Edisons, but only one of him survived because the rest were destroyed by ridicule and criticism. I used to be terrified of failure, and honestly, in many ways, I still am. And honestly, I think a big problem with our current school system is that it teaches us that failure is bad and that it's something that should be avoided at all costs. Coming from a Nigerian household, if I failed an exam, it was as if I had committed a crime at home. I remember vividly in elementary school, I was struggling with my multiplication tables. And when my parents found out, they were on my back to the point that every day I'd be practicing multiplication tables. And I eventually got better at it, but it planted a thought in my mind, which is that failure in this house and in life in general was just not acceptable. This fear didn't just affect me in academics, it also affected me in sports. I remember in high school, I used to play soccer, and in 10th grade, I got pulled up from JV to varsity at the end of the season because I was playing pretty well, and I think the striker had gotten injured, so they needed a new striker for the upcoming game. So I remember the varsity coach, texting me and saying, "Hey Tim, we'd like you to come out for the varsity practice, and then hopefully we're gonna play you in the upcoming game." And when I tell you, I was terrified to do this. Even though I had the skill and I had the ability to do what they were saying, the fear was holding me back. But I ended up agreeing because, of course, he was going to turn down a chance to play varsity. And I actually played very well in that game. But there's one specific instance where I remember I did let the fear get to me. It was a one-on-one with the goalie, and instead of taking the shot and shooting it like I usually do, for some reason I decided to pass it. And we were up at least, I think we were winning that game by at least 3 or 4 goals, so there's no reason for me to not take that shot. Because of that fear that was planted in my head, I didn't have that confidence, so I ended up passing the ball and missing an opportunity to really make a mark on the game. But the more I live and just learn from life, the more I realize that the people who are the most successful are the people who have often endured the most failures. So failure isn't actually the enemy, but the fear of failure is. The best thing you can do is fail early, often, and fast. And this isn't just to get it over with, but so that you can grow and learn quickly. Like if I had just taken that shot, even if I had missed it, I at least would have been able to learn from that opportunity and adjust the next time. And I truly believe that this mindset puts you light years ahead of people who aren't able to ever step out of their comfort zone because they're so paralyzed by the fear and the inability to handle criticism. So the next time you're faced with a setback or some type of failure, or maybe even some harsh criticism, try to remember that these setbacks are the stepping stones on your pathway to your greatest achievements. So number 4 is a concept that really hit home for me, which is that you have to start cultivating the habit of doing deep work. You have to come to an understanding that your attention is your greatest asset. And in this world of constant distraction, you have to protect it at all costs. Because we live in a world where most people can't focus on doing simple tasks without having to take a break or scroll through Instagram. Or if you watch TikTok, you can even watch a regular TikTok without watching it at 2x speed. And in that kind of world where this is the norm, the ability to focus deeply on a single task for an extended period of time is basically becoming a superpower. The people who are able to master this are the people who will get ahead. It's not because they work harder, but it's because they work with more clarity and with more depth. And this isn't just me talking. It's actually a hypothesis that Cal Newport proposes in his book, Deep Work. He says specifically that the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare at exactly the same time it's becoming increasingly valuable in our economy. As a consequence, the few people who cultivate this skill and then make it a core of their working life will thrive. So if you want to stop doing shallow work and start actually doing work that moves the needle, you have to learn how to first reclaim your attention. Because like Cal Newport says, to succeed, you have to produce the absolute best stuff you're capable of producing, a task that requires depth. The world will always offer you distractions. It'll tempt you with comfort and ease and cheap dopamine hits that may feel good in the moment, but leave you feeling emptier every single time. And when you find that thing that's worth suffering for, that thing that's worth you staying focused for, the distractions and all the noise starts to fade. And what you find left is clarity, direction, and momentum. Don't just wish for a better life, build it. Get clear, get quiet, and then align every part of your life to pursue it with a definite purpose. Thank you guys for watching. If you made it all the way to the end, like always, I truly appreciate you. Go ahead and hit the like and subscribe because it really helps out the channel. And also go ahead and drop a comment on how you plan on implementing this in your life and your definite purpose in life. Drop it in the comments so that we can all keep you accountable and check in with you in a couple months and see if you actually achieved what you said you wanted to. Also, thank you to all the new subscribers. I truly believe that we're building something great with this channel and that everyone who has subscribed and everyone who's watching has the capability of achieving something amazing in life. I'm so excited to see what that is in the future. But in the meantime, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.